What are the Cougars doing with the Bachmeier brothers? I don't know. Jake Hatch of Locked On BYU Cougars, though, probably does know. So Stanford, and I always feel obliged to remind people of this, Jake, has added a program record 18 transfers. This hasn't just been an exodus from the Bay Area. I know. I know. I'm telling many people for the first time. 18 transfers have gone to Stanford this offseason, but 2 have departed and made their way to Provo. Let's start with the wide receiver angle of this. Is this a 1-to-1 replacement for Keelan Marion, who is now down at Miami?
1-to-1 is probably a stretch, but I do think that Tiger Bachmeier has got everything capable of filling in adequately, along with other wide receivers already on the roster for BYU. The one thing I can say about Tiger Bachmeier is he is a more complete receiver, speaking of just simply in the wide receiver sense, than Keelan Marion was. Keelan Marion is an extremely effective kick returner. He's an All-American, in fact, and that part, you have a hard time, I think, replacing that, but I think as an overall wide receiver, Tiger Bachmeier is the better product in terms of just being a sheer wide receiver.
Do you think he's brought in and expect to contribute in a big way? Because a month ago, we could have done a segment highlighting the BYU receiver room. What does Jake Retzloff have around him? And Keelan Marion's probably option 2 or 3 in that room on the perimeter. Is that where you think Tiger Bachmeier slides in?
Yeah, right now, Chase Roberts would be the wide receiver 1. I think JoJo Phillips is probably that secondary guy as the Z or the X on the outside. And then Parker Kingston is probably the guy I pencil into that slot receiver spot. But then I think Tiger Bachmeier right now, you can pencil him in that second unit. And that's a great place to be because BYU rotates their wide receivers heavily. They've played as many as 8 guys in a rotation last year at wide receiver. And that will obviously give Tiger an opportunity to play a bigger role in the BYU offense. And the thing is, I'm not concerned about him getting up to speed. This kid, if you didn't hear it, he graduated in computer science in 2.5 years at Stanford. That's genius level nonsense. So I don't have a problem with him coming in and learning this playbook because he will get up to speed very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that's some Big Bang Theory level credentials right there from Tiger Bachmeier. What else would you expect from a football player coming out of Stanford, right? Like, yeah, 2.5 years, I'm done with my degree. Like, I'm good.
And computer science, no less. He can write the code for your next algorithm or whatever you want to use.
Yeah, maybe they should half enlist him to be a wide receiver and half enlist him to digitize the playbook. Maybe they're bringing him in to say, hey, we want to get our playbook instead of having like flip through pieces of paper like it's 1970. We'd like to digitize this whole thing. And Tiger, we think you are the guy to do just that. So it seems like this move happened very quickly, Jake, where, Tiger Bachmeier, I don't think he'd been in the portal for a super long time. And once Marion left, it was like, okay, we got to go find some. Oh, that seems like a really good addition. So do you think that, this was just going out and making the biggest NIL offer or the package deal with his brother, who we'll get to in just a moment? Why do you think BYU was able to go out and get a guy who was a pretty highly rated recruit and has got a couple of years of college football experience?
I think the number one thing is BYU already had a relationship with him. Aaron Roderick, Fesi Sitake, they did a really good job recruiting him out of high school. Now, he ultimately picked Stanford, as we all know, and played 2 years there, but that relationship still stood when he hit the transfer portal. You mentioned Bear, his younger brother. Bear actually hit the portal before Tiger, but the reports out there, and I had people tell me that they were a package deal. They wanted to play together at their next stop, and BYU had already recruited Bear as well out of high school, and that relationship, I think, with the BYU staff was a big reason why BYU is able to attract these two to come to Provo. But the other thing is NIL plays a role, and BYU is throwing a significant amount of money into both football and basketball. I'm not saying they're going to break the bank for either one of these guys, but I would imagine that there was a pretty healthy NIL offer on the table for both of them, and they're going to cash in alongside playing for the BYU Cougars.
I know for some college football fans that carries a negative connotation. Oh, they just went out and they paid the money. Like, what do you want them to not care? You want them to be behind the 8 ball, like dragging their feet on all this sort of Stanford stuff? Yeah, like Stanford. Yeah, who would you rather be? Who would you rather be in the modern world of college football? The school that's throwing a bunch of money at players because that's what it takes sometimes to get the recruits and portal additions you need? Or would you rather be Stanford? We're going to do it our way. They have won 9 games in 3 years. So, yeah, I mean, I guess there's more than one way to go about it. There's the quote-unquote right way, and there's the winning football way. You choose whatever you like for those fans that are in that camp out there. But Tiger, Bear, epic brother combination name. I mean, of all the matches for brothers that we've had in college football, Bear and Tiger. Oof, that's good. And also, the Bachmeirs are like the Uyunglele's. There's always going to be one in college football for a child's entire lifetime born in the right window. So these two guys are, of course, the younger brother of the former Wake Forest quarterback, Hank Bachmeier. Then there's a fourth one that is in the pipeline out there. But BYU just has two for now. For now, right? But let's talk about Bear, the quarterback. 2025 recruit, committed to play for Troy Taylor. Andrew Luck makes the change in Palo Alto, and Bear decides, nope, I'm going elsewhere. Do you look at Bear Bachmeier as quarterback of the future for BYU?
He's absolutely in the mix. There's no reason he can't be that quarterback of the future. The biggest thing for him, he's got to refine his game just a little bit and become more of a quarterback who's athletic versus being an athlete who plays QB. He's got every skill under the sun to be that type of a quarterback. And I've said this on a couple other podcasts. I don't invoke the name of Taysom Hill very often, but I see shades of Taysom Hill in Bear Bachmeier's game. But he is a more complete quarterback version of a Taysom Hill at the age he's at. Speaking of being a freshman at BYU, Bear will be in the mix next spring alongside McKay Hillstead and Trayson Bourget, and obviously Enoch Watson coming home off of a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Those four will be the guys competing to replace Jake Retzloff, but there's no reason to think that Bear Bachmeier comes in, makes a really good impression this training camp throughout the summer and on into the season, that he couldn't be the presumptive favorite to take over that job next year.
I want to go down a sicko rabbit hole for a moment.
Okay.
Trayson Bourget. Would that be Trenton Bourget's brother?
It would be his younger brother, yes. The Bourget, you want to talk about football families? The Bourgets, they're a quarterback family. Trenton obviously playing at Arizona State. Trayson went to Western Michigan, then transferred to BYU. There's a lot of families out there, man, that have played a lot of football. And you mentioned the Bachmeirs. Hank played all over the country, Boise State, Louisiana Tech, and Wake Forest. And the youngest brother, Buck, is only a freshman in high school. So in theory, it could work out that by the time Bear Bachmeier is done in Provo, the young Buck, as it were, could end up in Provo as well.
Trenton Bourget is as much of a sicko college football name as you could possibly know. That's how I'm going to present my credentials for our weekly or annual check-in from the bosses at Locked On. Why do you think you should still be hosting this show? I brought up Trenton Bourget the other day, the former ASU walk-on quarterback that laid a foundation and beat Kalen DeBoer's Washington team, was the last Pac-12 team to do so until they went to the national championship game. Those are my credentials. All right, that's where I could.
I got to point this way. Sickos Committee, hook up my brother Spencer McLaughlin.
Yeah, Sickos Committee, baby. That's the way we roll here.